Hi, Jim Owen here. Going to see what we can do about fixing my Hozan C700 spoke threader. It quit working, so I ordered a new head, and it said the head is consumable. So let's take it apart and see if we can find out what can be used to fix it. The roller on, so we can take that off. And that leaves 3 of these little shafts. You can see real close the wear on this. Let me get a better view here. This one is really worn, if you can see that as I rotate it. Taking the little shafts off is a project. What I did is I put it in a vise. Get a wrench on it. Now, it's usually very tight on there. I don't know if they press it in or if they use something like loctite here to hold it in. But to get these off, I had to use a little propane torch to heat it up. Then when I heated it up, give a different view here. After I heated it up with my little torch, got a screwdriver in behind here and a wrench on it. Out here. That set screws in the way. By rotating it back and forth and prying it out with a screwdriver, came off. Of course, this is hot. You better use a glove so you don't burn yourself on it. But that's how I got all 3 of them out. Got a magnifying glass set up here to show you a close-up view of the wear on these little pins. It's one on one, quite a bit, as you see as I rotate it. A big portion of that worn. Here's the next one. It's got some wear too, not quite as bad as the first one. Here's number 3. As I rotate it, you can see it has some wear on it, but not like the other 2. So they are consumable. The next step is to make some new ones. Here's just one of the 3 that I made. Of course, you need a lathe in order to do that. The metal I used for the pins is drill rod. I'm using W1. You could use O1, about the same hardness. They're a little bit harder than the mild steel like 1018 or something similar to that, but I'm not going to harden them. They should wear pretty good. The original pins were not hardened, so that's what I used. I had a piece of 3/16, 187, and the pins measured 0.156 inches, so I had to turn them down to that diameter. But that's what I used. I'd like to point out something. Here's the new head, and here's the old one. Notice how far down this adjusting nut is on the old head compared to the new one. I don't know if you can see the threads. There's about almost 3 threads showing, just a little over 1. So this is hardly adjusted. After I put the new pins in there, I'm going to have to move that nut back up and then start gradually bringing it down as I test it on a spoke. Get ready to assemble it. It's even with the edge. Should be a good place to start. And you start by cleaning this off. I have some acetone in this little bottle here. Let's see. Get those guys, clean them off with the acetone. That'll get any oil the grease on there. I like to use a pipe cleaner. Soak that with acetone. And clean out the head. Pretty dirty. Do it one more time with another piece of clean pipe cleaner. And my hands are in the way there. Okay, let it dry. I'm ready to assemble the pins with some Loctite. I use a 290. You could also, this is the green one, that's the wicking kind that soaks in. You can also use the red one, but I happen to have this one, and I find it works really good. This is the new head. I took one of the rollers off to show. These pins are at a slight angle, like this. They're not straight. I thought maybe they were bent, but they're not. And checking the hole, and the old pins when I took them out, they're straight. So this is the new pin on the old head, and this is the new head with, of course, the new pin in it. Got the paper in the back there so you can kind of see that. Remember, pay attention to the way the roller comes off. It's got to go back on the same way or you'll have big trouble. When you put it back, you got your trusty 5.5 millimeter wrench. Make sure you got it nice and snug. We'll put it in a vise to tighten it. Anyway, the thread that's in here is a 3 millimeter by 0.5 threads per inch. There you have it. We're going to assemble the head and let the Loctite set for a while and give it a try. We've got the old head mounted back on the threading machine here, and after a few tries here, we move this around so you can see it. Here's some pieces of spoke material that I used to adjust it. Took a little tries back and forth getting it. Now I'll take this other end here and this piece of material here, and we'll see how it goes all the way through. Got it mounted in there now. Going to give it a drop of cutting oil on one of the rollers. Can't give it too much. Of course, if it's dripping, it's too much. But here we go. I found usually 25 turns on the handle's enough, but on this one it wasn't quite enough to get the thread to come all the way to the end of the nipple. So let's give it 28 turns. Got a little play here. Get it off there. Get the oil off of there. And we'll see how it goes. I like to take a spoke. Let's go over and give you a little white background here. And put it in backwards, and then you can see how far it goes in. Goes all the way up, maybe 1 or 2 threads. That's fine, just what I need. So, complete the rest of the set. These were just the last 4 that I did, and all of them came out good. So I think it worked fine. Happy with the results of rebuilding it. I want to talk about the head a little bit. I'll give you a little more detail on it. It's kind of hard to see it here. But I blew it up, and I wanted to show the little shoulder on the back side of the roller die. And if you notice, the front edge is a little bit smaller than the back edge, and it's kind of tapered. Now, just rolling this straight on a spoke would not create threads. How they do it is they angle the pins. So that angle is the angle that's determined on the spoke itself. So if you're going to repair an old one, the pins must be firm in there, so when you take them out you'll have good holes, and make sure you put this back with this on the back side and the smaller end out on the front where the nut is. I mentioned the size of the nut is 5.5 millimeters. You can use a wrench like this, or if you got a little adjustable wrench, that'll do the job too. Before repairing a head, there's a couple things you must consider. The die rollers must be in good condition. If they're damaged, don't waste time. You won't get good spokes out of it. And the spokes, the pins should be firm in there so the holes are in good condition.